Hello people, welcome back to my channel Fitness Geek, and in today's tutorial we will learn about GitHub. But before jumping into the tutorial, I would like to thank each and every one of you for supporting and subscribing the channel. The kind of response that I have received till now is just overwhelming, but I would again request you to please tap the subscribe button and do help me with my journey. In on-premises, what we used to do is we used to have a central server and all the developers would be pushing their changes into the central repository. But we needed something, on the web, like you can just push your repositories into a web-hosted server and you don't have to worry about the security and maintenance. This is where GitHub jumped in, and they hosted a cloud-based solution where you can host all your Git repositories. So it's kind of a web-based application. So you just create your account and you can just start using it. In the first part of our tutorial, what we did was we installed the Git, we configured it, we created a sample text file in the local repository. We learned basic commands like git init, git status, and how to add the file, and all those how to merge. So we learned all those in our previous tutorial, and then we created branches and all those things we did in our previous tutorial. I'll share the link in the description if you haven't watched it yet. Today what we are going to do is we'll create the GitHub account, then we'll create a remote repo. So we'll create a repository in our GitHub, and then we'll create a remote connection from our local repository, local setup, and then we'll push our repository into GitHub. I'll walk you through everything, and we will also learn how to clone an already existing repository from GitHub to our local system. So what essentially happens is, like, there is when you join an organization, they already have a GitHub repository set up. So they will give you the permissions so that you can log in and copy the main source code and create your local repository, and then you work on a feature or your bug fix or your hotfix, and once you have completed it, you can push it through to the cloud, to GitHub, and once the pull request is approved and everyone agrees that your change is your commits are not going to damage the story or the end goal, so then your feature gets merged into the master branch, and that's where your CI/CD pulls it through, and it gets built and deployed. So enough of talking, let's start working. Let's log into github.com and sign up if you have not signed up yet. Create your account. I already have mine, so I'll use that. See, this is very basic, just like a Facebook account. So I'll log in with my credentials, sign in. The code, I'll get it in my email. I have done that, and okay, we have logged in. So this is my GitHub account. I haven't done much in it yet, but because I've been using Azure repos, I have like three repositories in this, not much. So I've done some CI/CD for the database, and I've done some Ola Hellengren maintenance solutions that I made some changes that I pushed, and then I used it for some Terraform deployments. So so this is where you create your repository in GitHub. We will not do it now, we'll do it later. So these are all, you can go ahead and explore. So there are pull request issues and all those things. We can talk all those things in details. So let's get back to our Git setup that we had. I'm in Visual Studio. Let me check the status. Git status, the March. Okay, so we are on the master. Working tree is clean. Let's see all the branches. So the asterisk with master, that means we are on master. Let's check if we have any remote. Let's first do a help. So if you do git remote -h, it will give you all the git remote commands, and you can see there are various commands that are there with git remote. So we'll check if we have any remote setup yet. Git remote, no, it doesn't give you anything, so we don't have a remote. If you go to the official documentation, all the commands that we received with git remote -h are the same that you'll get in the official documentation as well. So it is quite useful, you can use the -h flag and you can get all the commands associated. Just go through the official documentation once before you start working on it, so you'll get a much better idea of what we are going to do. What we are going to do is we'll create a remote, and then we'll create a GitHub repository, and then we'll push our repository from the local system into GitHub. So what we need to do is first create a new repository. Let's rename it remote. No, let's make it my awesome remote. Cool, that's done. Let's make it private. Public ones are, it's like it's shared with everyone, so you would not like to do that unless you want to share some code with others. So once you create a repo, you will get this page where actually GitHub tells you what you need to do in order to start using GitHub. If you need to create a new repository, you can use those commands. So create a folder, initialize it, and create your first commit, and then push your repository into GitHub. The second one is what we will use because we already have an existing repository from our previous tutorial, so we'll use that. You can browse through all the tabs in GitHub, so there are issues that you can log in. If it's a public, if you're working on some issues, you can log in there. You have pull requests, you have some actions. So pull request is a request to merge your feature branch into the main source code. We'll come to know more about it in our next video. There are some security things that you can do. You can have some settings associated with it. In the settings, you can change the repository name. If you want to change, you have to come to this place, and at the bottom we have this, the danger zone to change the repository visibility, transfer ownership, archive this repository, or delete this repository. So yes, just play around in GitHub, and you will you'll get comfortable slowly with it. You can manage the access, you can assign, invite people to collaborate, the notifications, integrations. So we can keep exploring all these things slowly, but in today's tutorial we will learn how to push our repository from our local system into GitHub, and also will clone the same repository back in a new folder. Okay, let's do some coding. Git remote, we don't have a remote, so I'll do a git branch all. So we have 4 branches as of now. We'll create the remote, git remote add, and the name of the remote. Usually people use origin, but I'm just giving it a name, my first remote. Let me copy my URL, paste, enter. Let's do a git remote. So yes, we have the remote ready. So we'll try to push this repository into the remote. Let's push this repository into GitHub. Git push the remote name that we have created, my first remote, and then the branch name. So it pops up the GitHub login page. So you'll have to provide your credentials and then you log in. So once you have done this, the next time it won't pop this up. So I have put in my credentials, I have logged in. Okay, so the push is successful. Cool. So we have pushed our repository into GitHub. It will give you the HTTPS link. So let me open that. Cool. So our sample.txt file is now in our GitHub repository. It's the same file. Let's refresh. Okay. If you see, we have 2 commits. These are the same 2 commits that we did last week, 6 days ago. Our first commit and adding the feature. All looks good. Adding a feature. Yeah, this is what we did last week. Cool. So we have set up, we have pushed our repository. So what we have pushed right now is just the master. So that's our main code repo that we have pushed. So now it is available in GitHub, and anyone who wants to pull this repository can pull it into their local system and create their own feature branch or hotfix branch and start working on it. If you see all the branches, right now we just have master. All branches, master. Cool. Okay, so we have pushed our master successfully. Let's create a feature. Let's check out all the branches. So now you can see we have the remote listed in the branch list as well. What we're going to do is we'll check out to test. Git checkout, test. Cool. So we have now switched our branch to test. Let's try to push this. Suppose we have done some work here and I want to push this branch as well. So I'll do a git push my first remote test. Should go through. Okay, so it's done. So let's check our branches. Okay, first check our remote. Remote's the same. Let's check our branches. Git branch all gives you the list of all the branches. Now you can see we have an additional remote for the test. If you go to GitHub, and if you see all the branches, do a refresh. So test branch now exists in GitHub. It has been successfully pushed. So if you see all the changes, what we did in our local repository is now visible in GitHub. And it dates back to the same 6 days, the last week session, whatever we did. Cool. So we have now pushed our one of the branches to GitHub. All looks good. So this, you can see there is something called new pull request. We'll learn more about that in next video. Let me make a change to this branch. Let's do the status, add the sample text back and do a commit. Git commit. Okay. Give a message. Testing. Remote. That should do. So I'll have to push that again. Git push our remote name and the branch name. Successfully completed. If you check the log, you can see we made a commit on our remote. So if you go and check the remote, you can see a couple of pull requests. We'll know more about pull request in our next video. So pull request is nothing but you create a request so that all the stakeholders can, all the other developers or your team can view what changes you have made and whether it will not break things, and once they approve it, it can be merged into the master. Yeah, so this is what a pull request is. Once a pull request is sent, interested parties can review the set of changes, discuss potential modifications, and even push follow-up commits. So that's it. We have done quite some work from our local repo. Now we'll do a clone. So imagine you just joined an organization, they gave you the URL for their repository in GitHub. So now you need to clone that repository in your local system. So let me do mkdir c ram study. Okay, so let me create the folder. Let me switch to that directory. Oh no, I need to give the full name, or go back to git and then jump into demo clone. Done. We are in that folder. Copy the URL, then we will clone it. The command is git clone and then the URL. See if you can see it has started cloning into, so it creates a folder with that name. So it has done it. If you go, so that was the folder we created, and then if you see inside that folder, it has created the repo and .git file. So it is initialized there, but see, if I'm not in that folder right now, so if I do a git branch or any git commands, I'll get an error because I'm not in that folder. So I'll have to go into the folder for the repo. So I'll do a cd, change my directory to my folder, and that's it. I'm in that folder now. I'm the master. Let me check the branches. Branch all, so you can see all the remotes. test and the master. The head is the master. Okay, let's now create a branch. So I mean, once you have cloned the repository, it's now available for you to work for your bit of code. Like, you can create your branch, your hotfix, your feature, whatever, and then you work on it. And once you have completed your work, you commit it and then you check in. So once you push your changes into your GitHub, there you can create a pull request there, and then once everyone agrees, it will be merged into the main source code, the master.